Hi, and welcome back to Prepping for the Sharks. I'm Burke Franklin, one of the members of the founding team here. My company is businesspowertools.com. And with me is Robert Browning, who's a leadership and business development expert, and also Fred Parrish, who's a longtime CFO, COO, CEO, and the co-author with Michael Gerber of the E-Myth CFO. And what we do is we have these after hours, kind of behind the scenes conversations. We get to talking about something we thought, wait a minute, we should record this conversation because it's probably useful for you to hear. And so we get into all kinds of stuff. And today we're going to talk about masterminds, the whole idea from Napoleon Hill. But before I get into that, I just want to point out that we've got three different logos up here. We're experimenting with our logo for prepping for the Sharks. And so if you've got any ideas on that, I'd like to hear it. But that's why we have three different logos. Anyway,
Yeah.
Robert, lead us off. Would you? We're talking about masterminds and what a mastermind is, why it's good, how we should have those, and how to coordinate and make it happen.
Yeah, thanks for asking. The big influence is originally, as you mentioned, Napoleon Hill and his classic Think and Grow Rich. And over time, I just found that to be a wonderful format. Yet a lot of people use that word generically now. Even Tony Robbins just coined his whole organization under mastermind.com because it's such a powerful concept. And but it's a little different than meetings in general, and yet it's has a particular purpose if you want. And sometimes masterminds can be short-lived because they were just intended to get started and to help a startup, or it could be an ongoing process you do once a month as part of your structure. So but it pays. You can get the book Think and Grow Rich for free now, and we have information we'll mention later that we can share with you to give you reasons to join Prepping for the Sharks. And one of the key quotes that I've always liked is from Napoleon Hill, that the mastermind is the coordination of knowledge and effort of two or more people who work towards a definite purpose in the spirit of harmony. And of course, when he originally interviewed world famous wealthy people that are legends, they had this in common as one of the key reasons that they became rich. So it's good to know, right?
The whole saying of two heads are better than one is this is like more than two. Like here we've got three, but you could have, how many people would you have in a mastermind? You wouldn't have 50. You'd have what?
Uh,
What's an
it's,
ideal number?
I would say several is a good number. At the most, maybe 10.
Okay. I was
And
going to say maybe a handful, but 10.
yeah,
Okay. Two handfuls.
yeah, something like that. And typically they're once a month. And, you know, uh, Fred, we've been doing a stakeholder meeting for your organization for a while, and it's rare we go over 45 minutes now that it's in the flow, and then the facilitator becomes less needed because people just naturally get in the groove. But it helps to know how to facilitate to get things going. And and it's also good to say in the mastermind, one of the concepts that's worthy of noting is that when two or more people get together in a spirit of harmony, um, that a third mind is created, and somehow you come up with more powerful ideas, and it energizes what you're working on. So that's one of the core concepts.
Would it be about one topic? Like you get a handful of people together and say, well, because we've all been in a million meetings in our life, and people think, oh God, not another meeting. You got to be kidding me. There's problem solving meetings, there's team building meetings, there's planning meetings, there's update meetings, all these meetings. But this one is really like, hey, here is a subject, or here's I got a problem to solve, or something like that. And you get a handful of people together, like you say, with the spirit of harmony there, to like,
Yeah,
we are going to work on this thing. We get everybody's ideas on it and figure it out.
yeah, and some people charge huge bucks to become part of their mastermind because you get to be with other powerful influencers. And if you're invited, or if it's a pay thing, they'll want you to be qualified to even be part of it. So there's so many levels of that come to bear. But I think it also pays. to start off, what makes a productive meeting? When are they time wasters? And how do you stop people from, oversharing and bringing out everybody in the group? So I think whether it's a mastermind or any meeting, that there's certain rules of the road and courtesies. I was wondering, Fred, could you share some of your experiences on that?
Well, I wanted to go back real quick to the mastermind. You know, in my experience, a mastermind is normally a group of people who have the ability to think at a particular level or in a particular way about a very specific topic. Investor mastermind, or an AI mastermind, or something along those lines. You wouldn't have a mastermind, and you guys know I love to use plumbing companies as an example. You would not have a mastermind in a plumbing company that had 5 people in the office and 10 people in the field, working in trenches and laying pipe. So
Right.
they have a very specific purpose, and it's not that.
Yeah, and that's one of the key attributes is you agree upon a purpose that you have in common is one of the key attributes of a mastermind. So that's a great point.
Or you want to have in common. You want to learn together. I mean, it may be that people don't really understand everything there is that they want to know about a particular topic, and they bring in people who have that knowledge and other people who want that knowledge, and together through that process they lift the entire room.
Exactly. That's a great example. And yeah, it's not a simple office meeting. This is something more with colleagues or people that are going to bring something to party, that are responsible, that have a work ethic and can make a commitment, and you have a shared purpose. Those are all key to this type of a meeting format.
Yeah, and there are groups out there. I'm not going to mention any of them.
Right.
But there are groups that on a monthly cycle will have, a particular, let's call it a board meeting. But
right.
In effect, it can be really viewed as a version of a mastermind, or an approach to a mastermind type of dynamic.
True. And a new product, a business startup, gathering intelligence in the field. And it's a little different than a strategic planning meeting, or, there's different meetings with different objectives and structures. And I've had masterminds that were good just during the startup phase, and then it shifted and not being needed anymore because the purpose was accomplished.
So with the mastermind, I'm thinking you get the plumbing company. So one mastermind could be you get your 10 plumbers out there and you get together and say, we need to solve a problem, or here's something we want to do. And you think it through because everybody's got a different idea how to do it. Another variation might be a mastermind of plumbing contractors. So you get all the
right.
business owners together and say,
right,
what are you guys doing differently? How do you make your money? And maybe you could do it online. You got a plumbing contractor from Texas, California, and Michigan. They're not competing with each other, so they can help each other out. And
good example.
Something to learn.
And so they're looking for maybe best practices in particular aspects of the business.
Or I was going to say the third variation would be you get business owners, say in town, where one's a plumbing contractor, one's a realtor, one's a something else, and different people. And maybe we're solving the plumbing contractor's problem, but you're getting people from a totally different perspective to give the plumber an idea of like, what's he or she missing? What could they be doing differently? What is their experience of other plumbing contract? All that stuff where you get a whole different perspective on your business that's important.
Yeah, and it could be a group of people who own accounting firms that want to figure out what to do now, since accounting may not be around as we know it anymore with AI coming in, and they may want to get together and dial in to figure out what's ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about that a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Well, I know
Yeah,
for myself,
they're way behind that curve. I can tell you that.
Yes.
I was thinking of an experience I had in myself. I'd written some letter or something that I was wanted to send out to our customers, and I showed it to one of the women I was working with, and she saw it differently, or her response to it was different than what I expected. And I'm thinking I'm the smartest guy in the room. I know what I'm writing here. But when she interpreted it differently, I thought, okay. So by the time we were done with it, and several other people looked at it, we got something that really worked, and it brought in different perspectives, and it made sense to everyone. So it wasn't just my only. I mean, that's the problem. I think people running the business, they think they're the ones who have all the answers, and I even remember we had a meeting. I wouldn't call it a mastermind. Maybe it was. We had the shipping guy, in there talking about stuff. I had no idea about some of these things that needed to be done, but the shipping guy had some ideas. You'd think, well, why is the shipping guy in a strategic planning meeting? Well, shipping needs to be done. It's part of the business. It's, a chain is as strong as its weakest link, and you can do all this great business, but if the shipping gets screwed up, what good are you? So he had some really interesting ideas too. So it's just interesting to get the different perspectives of how people see things, how they see it playing out, and maybe seeing how other people might respond to whatever you're doing. Or, hey, there's a missing piece in this chain of events that needs to be covered, and we're not doing it. We need to think it through. Anyway, there's all kinds of options there.
And Burke, you were a valuable contributor to a mastermind we did for about a year and a half. And that included Samantha Borland from the Young Presidents Organization and a group of other small business people. And we met periodically just to talk small business practices to greater increase your chance for success. And that one, people celebrated it. It had a lifespan, but it was still of value to, say, a general business community.
Sure. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and we had some, good feedback about it. But, people, sometimes there has to be the energy to hold it together. And all these things have a kind of a lifespan, in a sense, once the purpose has been served.
Yeah. But it's a different kind of meeting. It's very purposeful. It's I think going into it, you feel like, okay, this is going to be kind of exciting, or is going to be exciting, because you're going to get some answers out of this that you completely wouldn't expect. And yet you could solve a problem. You could fix some things. You could fix some things you didn't know were broken. And who knows, so it's not just okay, you guys, we're having a meeting, it's been there, done that. So.
And some of the largest amount of wealth generated in our nation in the past was generated by people that use this concept, like Carnegie and Ford and a lot of big names from the past. When, Napoleon Hill went and researched all these people, when it was offered by Carnegie, and he had a stopwatch under his desk saying, I have an offer for you. Would you be willing to write this book and glean, what are the habits of the very wealthy that help them get there? And of course, this is a key concept that's outlined in his book that was derived from these billionaires.
So when he said yes, and he pulls out the stopwatch. Oh, if it took you more than 30 seconds to say yes, you're done.
I think he had 60 seconds.
60 seconds to make a decision. That's a long time, actually, but I could,
Took him several years to interview, but he did all the introductions, right? To all
he didn't get paid for it either.
Pardon?
He didn't get, Carnegie didn't pay him to do it. He just had
that was the question. Will you do this? I'm not going to pay you.
But I'm gonna get these guys to talk to you.
Right.
I'm gonna get you the audience.
And
That's golden.
and even today, if you talk to many successful business people and you said, tell me your reading list, most would have this Think and Grow Rich on their reading list. In fact, um,
You should.
yeah, Earl Nightingale, that started Nightingale Conant, who was the first one to win a gold album with his The Strangest Secret recording that started the publishing company. And Paul J. Meyer, who ended up starting 50 companies, they did an album together, the first one, and it was Think and Grow Rich. It was that important. And both went off to make a huge difference in the world. And Paul J. Meyer's Leadership Management International is still one of the premier coaching organizations in the world. So these basic ideas still have value, but how you adapt them and understanding when and how, because sometimes a little tactical meeting, this is not that. And Fred, with some, I know you're working on some big projects. Do they ever initiate these type of meetings, or is it naturally just built in?
Not necessarily in that way. The way that group handles it is they actually will have a mastermind meeting over the course of 3 or 4 days in a particular location. Burke, you've been to at least one of those. Well, you were in Vegas last year, right?
Yeah.
And that was an investor mastermind, and there were a lot of people who attended that meeting that it was, the dynamic there was very interesting because they looked specifically at different types of industries. They looked at robotics. They looked at the entertainment industry. They looked at a whole host of different types of investment opportunities. And there were at least a couple of multi-billionaires in the room who were there looking for opportunities. So, that really is how they approach it. And that to me is way beyond what you're really referring to, Robert.
Yeah, because that when you do it in that amount of time and everything, it has mastermind elements, but it's a different, more extended thing when you put it into a weekend.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of days you had speakers speaking and talking about different topics. So it was like a big mastermind, but each person wasn't just, hey, I'm in a meeting here. We got a half hour or an hour to sort this out. They had a whole half hour or an hour to go up there and speak and share all their ideas of what they were doing.
Yeah, and so they would have one of the entertainment segments. They had a session where they had 14 people on stage addressing a whole host of different aspects of the entertainment industry, from idea creation to production to investing and distribution. There was an expert in every one of those particular elements of that industry. It was a really interesting approach.
It's like a symposium to some degree, wouldn't it be? Or there's.
Yeah, I suppose.
What's
Yeah,
a symposium? Define a symposium. What is that? What's that? What does that mean? I've heard of it all over the years. I couldn't tell you what a symposium actually is. It would be different from a webinar, a conference, a seminar. I mean,
well, you flew in for one and were a presenter where we did things that related to growing business and how to deal with the economic times that were then. But it was a long, almost a whole day meeting. And then afterward, there was a networking event. So I think there's so many different ways to do this. But the core elements of a mastermind are just good to know about, and can be woven in chunks into a number of different types of meetings. But it's good to know there's different types of meetings. A mastermind is a valuable part, but if you're going to impact an industry and get together with your most valued colleagues, and you want to meet once a month for a period of time, for, let's say, an hour, a mastermind could serve that well.
I was going to say
Yeah.
one of the other things in the approaching the mastermind, whether you're a participant or it's a mastermind is for your own benefit, you're rounding up people to help you, is you round up people you respect, or you need to respect everybody in the mastermind, and you got to be open to ideas. Some people are so fixated on the problem that they can't even see a solution. It's kind of like that idea, you buy a new car, you see that car everywhere. That's your reticular activating system. You see it. And I've talked to people where they're so fixated on the problem. I said, well, if you tried this, you don't understand. There's the problem. And they can't see anything else. All they can see is the problem, and they're not open yet to hearing a solution. So I'd say that's part of one has to be in that open mindset to think, okay, here's the problem as I see it, I'll fix it. Okay, now I gotta take a deep breath, sit back and go, let's look for some solutions. And I can't see them right now. So please help me out here.
And the third mind comes in to help. That's beyond the people that are there.
Right.
And it's also the case that selection of who would be in your mastermind is a key, because it's not a popularity contest or someone. You should meet a certain criteria if you're invited to a mastermind. And if there's an ongoing mastermind, usually it has been unanimous if you're going to invite somebody in to be part of that, because you got to fit a profile of that particular mastermind. And you also have to be knowing as having followed through and, other desirable qualities.
Yeah.
One of the things I liked about Napoleon Hill, and I'm not going to read the quote, but it's basically, hey, use the tools you have right now and get started. You got to take some imperfect action, and better tools will come along. So you just have to keep chipping away at it and not find reasons not to begin and make progress.
I think of this along those lines. I do that, and I think of like, oh, I made a mistake. I don't think of, oh, and beat myself, oh, I screwed up, I made a mistake. No, I did an experiment and I learned something. I mean, the Chinese talk about, there's a saying, a fool tests the water with both feet. You can always stick your toe in the water, try an ad, try a press release, introduce a product concept. Go along the way, but don't think of it as a mistake or be afraid I'm making a mistake. Yeah, you probably will, but think of it as an experiment, correct, adjust. I mean, a guided missile is off track 99% of the time. It's just doing like this and finally hits the target. So it's correcting and adjusting constantly. I think that's what people need to do. It's not just a set it and forget it thing.
Yeah,
It's like
100%.
Outer space aircraft are the same way. And it is the case, but in a mastermind, that same concept that you just shared, Burke, and the difference is what's worked or not worked for others that helps you reduce the error and increase your probability of making progress. And a mastermind is great for that.
Right. That's the idea.
Just like Jay Abraham testing headlines, and who has knowledge.
A/B split testing. We do that with web pages and headlines, like you say, or offers. You A/B split test and come back and see what worked. So take what you've got. And I would open up to the company, maybe give them a bonus. Whoever gets the best headline for our web page wins a prize, and everybody can play. And so you just rather than getting ego, that idea is a bad idea. Well, you never know. And some ideas are bad ideas, but nevertheless, you try some out and see. Let people participate in that. Be interesting. You've got a document you want to share, Robert, don't you? About what a little more information people can download from us.
We're offering for people to sign up for Prepping for the Sharks for free. We're growing this. We're doing a full launch soon, but we have a lot of material and a lot of content. You'll be happy that you signed up. But right now, of course, we have part of what we do is helping people do presentations or pitches. And Burke, who leads a group, and I'm sorry, which is the group you lead again? Burke is
What, Toastmasters?
Toastmasters, right? But he's picked up all kinds of tips of how to present and et cetera, because he's does that with investors and et cetera. So when you sign up, you can get that for free, but you can also get a 2-page summary that's been condensed based on Think and Grow Rich. When you sign up, just in the comments, put send me the Think and Grow Rich summary, and we'll send that to you. But we took care in putting that together so you don't have to read the whole book, but you'll get the core idea just by looking at this compiled 2-page summary. And it's worth repeating that this book is now available at no cost. If you went and put Think and Grow Rich free, PDF or something, you'd be able to get the whole book too. So these are gold that are worth revisiting. They're classics, right?
I would read the book. Sure, it's all based on stuff that happened 100 years ago, but that just makes it simpler to understand, really. But the principles all apply.
Yeah, some things are timeless to some degree, just like, good manners or good thinking and some, certain leadership ideas, everything. Some of them are tried and true and eternal, just like, Roman generals, or, some of that stuff comes sport and sounds like it's today, right?
Yeah.
And we're right near the end of our usual time frame we leave for this. I was wondering, Fred, did you have any comments you'd like to mention about meetings and any insights to share with our group today?
No, there are so many, as you mentioned earlier, Robert, there are just so many different reasons for meetings. I think a generalization might be less helpful than just not going into any of that. Right now, we could have one of these discussions about each type of meeting, because there's a lot that is both good and not so good about all different types of meetings: strategic, financial, operations, sales and marketing. You pick one.
Yeah, right.
It's like that one book that was everything you needed to know you learned in preschool. Take turns, be polite. I think some of that applies in meetings too. How about you, Burke? You've done a lot with investor presentations. What gold nuggets would you like to share at the end of this session?
Well, it's not just investor presentations. I think part of it is you've got to expect questions. People are going to ask questions, and there are going to be some stupid questions, you might think, but they're not stupid questions. And so really it's about matter of respect and letting people finish their sentences and ideas without interrupting them, even though you vehemently oppose them. Just have a political discussion, see how that goes. It doesn't work out, but try that there. But you really, in a mastermind, like you say, the harmony part is the key ingredient. You figure everyone in the mastermind, really, we're all here to help make this thing, whatever it is, work. And so let people finish their idea before you interrupt them. Ask questions, that's fine, but there's really respect, and I would say that's the biggest thing right there.
Thanks, Burke. And I'd like to just say, facilitation is a group process, but if somebody is just trying to keep the flow of the meeting going, making sure people that are a little more self-contained make comments and draw that out of them. And if somebody's over the top needing to talk too much, that you politely get them to tone down a little bit so that everybody gets to contribute in any kind of productive meeting, especially in a mastermind. And yet it's a facilitation light. You don't want to control anything. It's not about you. And in fact, the least you have to say, the better. But it's just like driving a boat or something. It's a light touch, but you don't want to run into a buoy or something. So
Well, let me give you a real quick example of what not to do. Okay.
All right.
Burke, you're going to remember this because
Oh boy.
it was at the mastermind that we were talking about a few
Oh
minutes
God.
ago.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
And it was during a conversation across a whole host of different technology platforms. And in fact, the guy was sitting at my table, and I had been talking with him. I just met him there. Brilliant guy. I think someone else told me that he has 7 PhDs. I don't know how real that is, but
Like why? Okay, yeah, anyway.
yeah, right. Well, he decided, and there were in this particular session about 10 people on stage, and they were talking about a whole host of different technology as part of a particular stack. And he decided that he didn't like the way the conversation was going. So he picked up his chair, walked up to the stage, put his chair at the end of the row, and sat down and injected himself into the conversation. It was absolutely hilarious.
And what result was that came from his interruption?
Well, no one really knew what to do with it, so they just let him go. And I guess he added some interesting comments. That most of the time that kind of thing would not go well.
Was he verbose? Did he overstay his welcome?
Well,
he stayed up there the whole time.
there was another one. There was another guy who was up there talking about all the people he knew and this and that, and he just went on and on and on. And finally, the facility, what do you call it, the MC of the guy putting on the whole show, had to walk out and kind of like,
with the hook and kind of drag him off.
He kind of grabbed his chair and started to take his chair away from him. This is a different guy. It just went on, and we're just like, oh God, please, dude, shut up.
It was very painful. And that was a different session.
Yeah,
it was quite entertaining. The whole thing.
Do not be that person, please.
Right, exactly.
It's painful. It's all about a lack of awareness. But if you
really is
turn the dimmer switch up just a little to bring the light of your awareness up, you won't be able to do those blankety blank, disruptive, self-indulgent mistakes.
Yeah.
But
it was all very funny, all very entertaining.
Yep.
So again, go to preppingforthesharks.com. Check it out. You'll see we'll have some valuable videos up there soon. And if you want to sign up to be a presenter, that's a huge opportunity and of great value. And just by signing up for free, you'll get Burke's well put together presentation tips. And now you'll also be able to get a 2-page summary of Think and Grow Rich's mastermind concept based on that book by Napoleon Hill. So thanks, everyone. Any last thoughts?
Join us at preppingforthesharks.com.
Yes, please.
Exactly.
And thanks for being with us today.